Hi everyone! The gift of this workshop that I'm sharing is called The Gift of Motherhood and Homeschool Community Building. So first I want to say thank you so much, beautiful mothers, for joining me, and I feel so honored to be a part of this beautiful festival and event. I feel really grateful that I get to share all this information with you guys. So let's just take a deep breath and let's start with an intention. What is our intention? Let's breathe that in. What is our intention for ourselves at this point, at this moment in time? And how do we want to receive a gateway that can open our hearts up? Okay, so let's make that intention. Mine is to share as much information as possible in a simple and peaceful way. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about first, as a mom of 3 and a bonus mother of 4, I have learned so much about the ins and outs of motherhood, and also how it correlates and relates to the gift of homeschooling our children. So this may apply to you, or this may not, or this may apply to you in the near future. So it's always good to keep an open mind. You know, I never honestly thought that I would homeschool my kids, but during COVID, I had quite an experience that led me to believe that it was time for me to lead my children and my family in a way that I wasn't expecting to lead in. And so I think these are interesting times in the world. And I think that leadership right now as a mother is really about taking a stand for what you believe in, even if that means going against the grain, even if that means not agreeing with everything family members, for example, might be saying. And so there's a beautiful generation of children that are coming in that are now young children, like between the ages of 0 and 10, right? And this generation is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful group of souls who are coming in the world at a time where there's a huge opportunity for transformation and for bridging the gaps between an old paradigm reality and a new paradigm reality. So I talk a lot about this in my books, and what I wanted to share with you next in terms of motherhood and how we can build community in motherhood, even aside from homeschooling and the idea of homeschooling and building that community. Just motherhood community is a beautiful, beautiful opportunity to continue the postpartum experience after having a baby. Maybe you're in between having your last baby and another baby, or maybe you're going to be pregnant again soon and you have one baby, or maybe you are pregnant right now and this is your first baby. Either way, pregnancy and postpartum is a huge opportunity to experience exponential healing in your life. And so a lot of the times, the opportunity as a mother, especially as a new mother, presents itself over and over, right? Where we feel like our needs aren't met because there's so much on our mind and there's so much we're doing to caretake for our baby, our family, right? To make food, to clean, to take care of the baby or the children, in my case, or in some people's case. And oftentimes we forget to take care of ourselves, and even more importantly, we also forget to receive and to ask for help, okay? So I'm going to give you an example because I feel like this is very relatable. During COVID, I had, right when the lockdowns took place, right around then, I had my second child. And when I had my second child, I realized how much help I needed. Financially, we were in a very interesting predicament, and I called out to community for support. A lot of people posted all of my post on social media on their pages because they found it very useful and inspiring that a woman who had just given birth was so open and honest about people who wanted to help her. And so when I say people, I mean, of course, friends and my yoga community. We had a yoga studio at the time. But I also had people who saw that I was so grateful for having this baby, and it was such a challenging time in the world that they were community members that offered to come in and give support. So they would leave food at my doorstep, or they would ask me if they could give me a foot massage, or they would, one woman came and she knocked on my door after messaging me back and forth saying that she really wanted to be a part of my postpartum team. And she literally texted me, asked if she could come over that day. I happened to have such a messy house and 2 teenage bonus daughters, plus my 1 baby, and now my 2nd newborn. And she asked if she could come in and clean my house. And that startled me because I felt so grateful, and I also felt like I was really receiving the love that my community was offering me. It was my turn to receive instead of constantly give, right? So if we're always giving and we're not receiving, then the balance gets, our equilibrium, our homeostasis gets thrown off, and then we can't give as much as we'd like to. So in this place, I clearly texted her saying, yes, I am happy to have you come over and help. She cleaned my whole place in 4 hours. She did 3 loads of laundry. She cleaned the kitchen, spick and span. Everything was mopped. I mean, it was amazing. So after, when she was done, I said to her, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. How much do I owe you? And I went to my wallet. She looked at me and she said, no, this is what community does. Thank you for the opportunity to give. And that just, I'm crying just thinking about it. It really touched my heart. So all of that to say that when we're in a place in our heart where we can receive love, then the gift of motherhood becomes a true gift. It doesn't just become about being a mother in a household, taking care of everything. It's actually also about receiving everything, because we can only give to the extent that we can receive. So if we're capped at our giving, it's because we're not receiving. And if we're capped at our receiving, then we're not allowing ourselves to give a bigger chunk of who we are in our hearts. So I wanted to put that out there, that the gift of motherhood is really about asking for what we need. And of course, sometimes that's from our spouse. That could be as simple as a request for a massage from your husband, or that could be something such as asking a friend who you are close to for extra support with cleaning your house when you have your newborn. Or it could be even asking some friends who are more acquaintances in your life for support. So be open, be willing to ask for what you need. You know, try not to be isolated and closed off, which again, for me at that time during COVID, it was the epitome of isolation. And that's why I feel like I discovered a golden nugget, which was being willing to ask for support. And I now, not only did I experience the willingness of asking for support during 3 of my births and postpartum with all my children, and continue to as they're 9, 6, and 4, but I'm also inspiring other people I know who are pregnant to be that reminder for them to ask for what you need. Write things down. If it's hard to ask out loud, write them down, and then try to figure out the right way to approach those around you without feeling self-conscious. It's really just getting out there that you could use support. And what that does is it creates a sense of vulnerability, creates a sense of intimacy, which is what this world is really lacking, for lack of better words, and what this world really needs right now in the world of birthing, in the world of motherhood, in the world of this next generation. What we need is that intimacy. Because when we have intimacy with ourselves, then we can birth that intimacy within our child and within our family unit. And what I love about that, being a mom who has now kids that are almost 9 and then almost 7 and 4.5, is that I see them do the same. And it's a beautiful thing when I can see that they are relying on their community to ask for what they need. So your kids will literally pick up everything you do. They learn from what you do, not from what you say, right? So asking for what you need. That was one of the big ones I wanted to share. And then the next one is releasing fear and expectations. Okay, so asking for what we need, right, is less of an expectation, in my opinion, and it's more of a opportunity to come from a place of gratitude. Now, when we're expecting something from our partner or from our friends and we're not getting it, or expecting something from our kid and we're not getting it, or expecting them to not be a baby who cries a lot, but they are crying a lot, whatever that voice of that expectation is in your mind, this is what motherhood's all about. It's not just the cuddles and the beautiful moments of serene divinity. It's also the moments of challenge that you face that makes you a better person, and that makes you, turns you, molds you into the mother that you came here to be, that your children need you to be. Otherwise, they wouldn't be bringing this out of you. They wouldn't be acting in these ways, right? So we're given all that we can truly handle. And so when we can let go of our expectation of how our husband should have spoken to us when he got home, right? Or how he should have changed the baby's diaper, or how he should have offered to read your mind for you, right? All these false expectations are illusions that we create with it because there's an unmet need within ourselves that honestly, our partner cannot meet that need. Our kid cannot meet that need. Our friend cannot meet that need. No one can meet that need unless we can identify where that need is coming from and then communicate what it is that we need when from a place that is no longer holding expectation, right? So when we're expecting something, then we have a feeling of accountability. I need you to do this for me. I need you to do this for me. I need you, versus I'm going to go back inside and realize I'm feeling frustrated right now. I know that I need my husband to help me with this, and it's going to come out in an explosion. So I'm going to take 3 deep breaths before I go into what I call in my book, the perpetrator role. Okay, so if I'm about to go into the perpetrator role, which means I have an expectation of someone, and now I'm going to attack them consciously or unconsciously through my energy, even if it's as simple as saying, I wanted you to do this and you didn't, right? That's a perpetrator comment. When we are perpetrating someone, we have an expectation and we are telling them what they should have done, instead of coming from that place of pausing, connecting to myself, connecting to, okay, I'm frustrated because all day long I've been at home in bed with baby. I haven't had enough time to walk around and stretch. I didn't do my meditation and morning yoga because I was distracted with other things, and I need to slow myself down, right? I need to calm down. I am checking in with myself and finding out where I can emerge and be heard in a way that allows them to actually hear me, versus me speaking from a place that will push them away from hearing me, right? So the perpetrator role is one of the behavior patterns in my book series. And it's really powerful to study this, because when you study this behavior pattern, and I talk to wives all the time, and mothers, single mothers too, who face this feeling of that perpetrator inside of them. And if they identify it, if they can identify with it when they're having it, when you're experiencing that feeling, then you can pause, slow down, okay? I see that I'm coming into the perpetrator role right now. I see how I'm acting this way right now. I see what I want to say or what I just said. And I'm going to take my energy back into myself. I'm going to take 3 deep breaths. I'm going to pause. And I'm going to ask myself, why is the perpetrator coming out? Now, that's a quick, easy thing you can do, that anyone can do. My books go much deeper into the perpetrator role and the other 3 roles that I'm going to talk about. But the perpetrator role is a big one that I think a lot of new moms have. Once you've had 2 or 3 babies, you kind of realize that you are responsible for your life. And I think subconsciously we all know this, but you are the creator of your life. So anything you are not experiencing, anything you're experiencing that you do not like is coming from yourself. So it's important for you to own that. And after the first baby, that becomes more obvious in the natural consequences that occur. So, but it can still come up, especially if the perpetrator role is a habit based on a trauma or a way that you were raised as a child. So that is kind of what my books go much, much, much deeper into, a deep dive about that and the other 3 behavior patterns I'm going to talk about. So that's a quick thing that you can do to kind of move yourself through the perpetrator role. And at the end of this, I'm going to give you some mantras that you can say for each one of these roles. So besides the perpetrator role, which I think that is the most common after a mother has a baby, and then I'll go into the community building of all this. The second one that I want to talk about is the victim. So the victim is the part in ourself that victimizes ourselves, right? Oh, I'll never get enough time for myself. Or, there's no way I can make friends if I'm, busy cooking and cleaning all day, but that's all I can do right now, right? Like, it's like you want something, but you're like a dog chasing its tail. You cannot see where the line, you have to draw the line and say, I'm ready to emerge out of this feeling, right? So in my book, I have many, many pages about each one of these behavior patterns. The purpose of that is so you can identify with these patterns when they're coming up in you. When they're coming up in you, they're coming up as a way to purge a new onion layer of this behavior pattern. And our entire life is built of these 4 behavior patterns, right? These negative 4 behavior patterns that I'm isolating they encompass every single negative emotion and feeling that we can have, okay? And you can have many different words, but each one of those words for something negative you're experiencing goes in one of these categories. So if you can identify with one of these categories when you're experiencing that emotion, then you can pause, you can retract, you can take a moment to be objective and to emerge through what is popping up for you, what is happening in the moment, so that you don't take it out on your loved ones. Because some things we do can be permanent. We can hurt our partner and say something in a moment that permanently we can't take away, right? So we want to be aware. We want to be conscious. We want to be open to the moment when we're feeling a negative feeling, and we can identify where it's coming from in ourselves. And even if there is a voice that needs to be heard by someone, your child, your partner, your friend, your family member, a boundary, whatever that is, you first want to come from a place where you aren't feeling like you're attacking them by being a perpetrator. You also want to feel like you're not being a victim when you're coming to them with a need or a want. Because if you're coming from a need or a want, but you're coming from a victim perspective without having overcame that in the moment, which again, we go way deeper into that in my books, then it can come off to the other person you're speaking to in a negative way, and they will retract. They will push it away. They will push away from you. Your kid will shy away from you. Your kid will act out when you do that, because it is a natural way of the human self saying, this doesn't feel right. This feels yuck, right? So when when we're able to identify that, then we don't need to wait for that mirror reflection from our children or our spouse or whoever to reflect that back to us, right? Instead, the medicine that we need can be more gentle, more soothing, more self-aware, coming from a place of self-healing. Okay, so we got the perpetrator role, the blamer. We got the victim role, which is feeling victimized, right? And then the next role is the martyr pattern. And these are all, again, in my books, the Emerge Trilogy series, which is coming out soon. So the martyr role is the part inside of us that goes, well, I'm never going to be able to leave this house. My baby is so young and it's so hot outside, and I'm never going to be able to build community because I don't know anyone in this town, and there's no point in going out anyways, and it's all my fault because if I did it, then it would be different, but I'm not, right? It's like you're like sulking and sitting in this extremely negative pattern, and you're doing it to yourself. It's not like you're like, oh, why is this happening? Like the victim. Instead, you're like, no, I'm doing this to myself. I'm aware that I am putting myself in a very bad position. So again, all these behavior patterns stem from trauma, and they stem from childhood memories. So the martyr was something, for example, in my life that I saw my mother, which is my inspiration for writing these books, feel oftentimes in her life. I would see her sit there, cry, sit in the victim, go deeper into the victim, go deep into the martyr, and I would just sit and watch and remind her of all that's possible. And yet none of it was just going in one ear and out the other. Because if she's not in a place to receive it, then anything anyone says will fall on deaf ears, right? The martyr cannot be healed in someone unless they're willing to identify it again. We want to identify, not to put attention on it to make it worse or to make it bigger, but we want to magnify it. Imagine looking at something extraordinary, right? If you have a magnifying glass, you can see all the intricate details of what this is and how it works. And so if you can magnify, why is this martyr in me coming up? And where is it coming up? For what reason? Where's it coming up from? So it's kind of like imagine the flower, like the lotus blooming through the mud, right? When it's blooming through the mud, it's like it's seeing the sky up above through all this darkness, right? So when we can identify with the mud, then we're like, wait a minute, this is that thing, that mucky, muddy, slimy thing that I see, but I don't want to identify with because it takes me down and I'm aware of that, right? You're not trying to ignore the fact that there's an issue or a challenge here that you continue to repeat, or maybe cyclically repeat on your certain cycles of your menstrual cycle, or certain times of your life when you're triggered by someone or something particular maybe flares it up, right? Even if it is flared up for some reason, you want to lessen this experience more and more until it dissolves itself. And you want motherhood to be the opportunity for you to allow this to dissolve. So the martyr, right, when we can identify with it, we can see that it's coming from a false deficient self-image. It's a deficient self-image that we're feeling, which is false, right? Because the truth is, love is here for all of us. No one is not chosen. We're all chosen to be the love and the embodiment of love in action for all of our children, for our spouse, for our friends, for our children, for ourselves, first and foremost. And that is what these teachings are all about. Coming back to yourself, honoring where you're really at, honoring what's coming up in a moment. And when you do this in a group setting, you can build community. So I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but in short, these books, what I did was I created these books because I wanted to create community. And I literally wrote these books so that I could build intimate connections with other moms who had kids. And my oldest is almost 9, and I started this when he was 2 months old, and it's still going strong. And yes, mothers move out of the state and new moms come in. Some leave, some come. Sometimes we have too many. We have to turn people away because we have too many moms in our group, in our homeschool group. But it started from us doing this work in a circle together. So in these books, you can go through the first and second book in a community setting, and you can read the first chapter out loud, and everyone has something, it brings up something. And as it brings up something, you get more intimate with yourself. You get more intimate with God within you. You get more intimate with the group, and people get to see your true colors, and people get to feel that, they can really be there for you and in a real way, because you're admitting honest, transparent realities. And that's what draws people closer. That's what draws community, is honesty, not being afraid of saying, yeah, you know what? My poop stinks, seriously. And if you can't admit it, then it's like you have a guard up, and that guard will only attract more people who are guarded versus people who are taking that guard off, right? So anyways, enough about the martyr. The martyr is a powerful experience of creating more mindfulness when you can identify it in the moment and go, I see the martyr right now is acting out. I see what it's doing. I'm aware that I'm in this position. I actually do know I can work out again. I do know I can get the kids outside in the dead winter, get the stroller, go up and down the sidewalk, run if I have to, and I can lose this weight. I absolutely can, right? Whatever the goal is, I can do it, okay? That's real. And anything that's telling you you're not and that you deserve to stay stuck in this martyr experience, that's not true. And so now that you know that, when that feeling comes up, you can quickly identify what it is. And in my books, there's a formula to identify it. So right now, I'm just giving you the idea. So the next behavior pattern is, this one's a big one for me because, it's a big one. This one's called the rescuer. So the rescuer is a part inside of us that wants to rescue others in order to feel good about yourself, right? If I can help you feel less stressed, then I'll feel less stressed, right? If I can help you do this, then I will feel happier for you, and then I will feel more relaxed. If I can get you to clean up after yourself, then I will feel less anxiety, and then I will feel better because you will be doing that, right? And you will be more responsible. And so you're trying to rescue others. And sometimes it directly affects you. Sometimes it doesn't. But oftentimes when we're coming from this perspective of the rescuer, it's not necessarily that what you're saying is wrong or what you feel is wrong to someone else. It's that if it's not coming from an authentic moment, the present moment, then it's coming from preconceived notions in the mind. And if it's coming from a place like that, then whatever you say will fall on deaf ears, because, and it's sorry to say that, but it's true, because the other person is not in a place to receive it, because you are coming from a deficient self-image. I only feel good about myself if I can help you heal. If you feel better, then I feel better. But truly, it's like temporary. It's a temporary way of feeling better, because you know that if you can help them feel better, they'll feel better, which gives you this immediate gratification, right? But in reality, the only real gratification we can have is in eternal gratification. So the rescuer is basically a place where we are learning how to identify when we're acting in that pattern, and how we can go, wait a minute, I'm trying to help this person because I can tell they want my help. But I have 15 dishes in the sink, and I have a baby that needs to take a nap. And if I say yes to this right now, right, then I'm saying no to all these other things. And it's really important as a mom to have sacred boundaries. It's really important to know your priorities, right? And it's really important to know that when you say no to someone or something, you're also saying yes to something else. That's a real beautiful golden nugget that I've learned over the years. So if I am saying, no, I can't go deeper and further into this discussion, as long as I would love to continue to carry this on with you, right? This conversation I'm having with a friend, let's just say. But I have a lot to do at home and I gotta get going. Maybe we can carry this on tomorrow. Let's text each other and find a better time to meet. So when you're saying no, don't feel guilty, don't feel bad, because if you do, that's the martyr. And when you say no, you're saying yes to your responsibilities, to the things that are the most important. The things that are most important are most of the time, I'm not saying all the time, but most of the time, your daily responsibilities, right? And if you're going beyond reaching out to others, when your daily responsibilities aren't feeling fulfilled, then you're creating an imbalance. You'll come back home after, the time you were supposed to. Now your baby doesn't have a nap. Now your baby's running around angry. And now you don't have food on the table when dad comes home, right? And now you're feeling more stressed. So focusing on what your daily responsibilities are and making those things a priority so you know when to say yes and you know when to say no to situations that involve other people in your life, right? And primarily helping other people, whether it be educating them or allowing them to open up and share space with them to talk about a painful subject, whatever it is, or being over at a friend's house and the kids are playing and she really wants the kids to continue playing, but you need to go home. Those are the moments where it can be challenging to say what you need. But if you're not saying it from a place of rescuing them, right? Like, here's what rescuing would look like. I'm really sorry. I know you really want the kids to play, and I do too, but I really need to go, right? That's feeling like you're rescuing. Or another rescuing comment might be, oh my gosh, I really, really, really am happy to stay longer. Yeah, sure, no problem. But internally, you're getting ready to explode because when you get home, you have a disaster waiting for yourself, right? So being able to prioritize things so that you don't get stuck in the rescuer. And again, my books go really, really deep into these 4 behavior patterns, and it's what creates that community building. Because now in my community of moms and homeschool mothers that I'm close to, that I've been building over the years, when I say you can be emotionally honest with me, they know what that means. They know that term in the book means it's time to be transparent. I don't have to hide from her. She's not going to judge me. I am safe, right? I am safe to express my truth. And so when you can create a safety in yourself, and you can create this framework, right, of identifying when something's going out of balance, you can identify which behavior pattern that is. You can identify exactly how to transform it. You can identify it in the moment. You can heal a lot quicker. And it's not all this processing. It's not all this heavy thinking and talking processing. It's more, oh, I'm feeling like a victim right now. I can feel this. I'm aware of this. Okay, let me back down. Let me take a deep breath and let me transform this in the moment, right? It's literally that easy. When you read the book, if that sounds difficult, the books would be helpful because when you read them, you can go a lot deeper into understanding how to do that. But ultimately, that's really what you're doing. You're just going, oh, I'm feeling like a martyr right now. I'm feeling like I can't get out of the house and I'll never be able to get, my body in shape again. Let's just say that's it. And if you're feeling that, you're aware of it. You're aware that you're feeling a stuck emotion. You're aware it doesn't feel good, because anytime we feel a negative emotion that's holding us back, we try to identify which one of those behavior patterns it is so that we can emerge through that behavior pattern. So thus, we call this the Emergeteachings. And like I said, there are moms that I am offering these teachings to in these books in a setting where they get to sit with their community of moms or even a brand new group of moms. And literally, we started when my baby was 2 or 3 months old. So, you could have babies that are laying down, sitting on you, falling asleep, breastfeeding, and go in a circle, read a chapter at home, come together, talk about it. It creates an opportunity for discussion, right? Let's see. talked about asking for help. We talked about receiving. Another thing is showing up for others. Other people have challenges too, right? And when they have a challenge, it's really nice to show up for them because they will not forget that. They will not forget that you were that one person that showed up for them when they didn't think anyone would, okay? I have a friend who was there for me when I had COVID. My whole family had COVID, and I literally was so sick. I thought I was gonna die. I was so sick. It was horrible. I was totally out of it. And one day my girlfriend texts me. She goes, "Hey, I left something on your doorstep." She made her great grandfather's chicken soup broth, and it had like gluten-free noodles in it. And she said it was just loaded with minerals. And honestly, I was a vegan and she knew that, but she said, "This will help you. You need to take some of this." So I brought it in and I had some. I literally felt better the next day. So it was like, not only was that soup saving grace, but it was the fact that she cared enough to make me an entire pot of soup, not just for me, but for my whole family. And that was just so kind. And these are the kind of gestures that we want to elicit. We want our friends in our community to feel that they can do that for us. We want them to feel like we're open enough to receive that kind of love, right? Because if they don't feel like we're open enough, most likely, energetically, no one's going to reciprocate, right? No one's going to show up for you in a way if you can't receive that love, right? So that's really important. And another friend of mine, when I had COVID, said that she left something outside, and she left like 2 huge containers of hot tea with ginger, lemon, garlic in them. And honestly, that made me feel so good. Also, my father died recently. One of my friends on my 40th birthday decided to come to my house and leave a birthday gift for me to wake up to in the morning. And this is what I mean. These are gifts from God, from these women, from the ability to be intimate with ourselves. And when we have that kind of community, like, that's what we all dream of, right? We dream of the community of trustworthy women that are in our lives, that are showing up for us because we're showing up for them. So receiving, and also when it's your turn to show up for someone and you feel divinely guided, not like you're being a rescuer, but divinely guided, divinely inspired to show up for them, show up. It will be worth it, and it will give you a heart of gold in that moment. Okay, I think we're working through. The main thing about these behavior patterns too is that what you're doing is you're learning about how to work through challenges, which, like I said earlier, that's really what motherhood's about. You know, you see a lot of these people on social media doing all these beautiful things, making their sourdough bread, changing their clothes, wearing these great outfits, but doing their makeup. But at the end of the day, you know, motherhood is not just getting through the you part, but it's getting through the day with everybody else's feelings being taken into account, right? There are challenges. There are tantrums that toddlers have. There are moments of patience that we endure. There are moments of patience when we're giving birth. There are moments of challenge and strife and struggle. And we can make those challenges as gentle as possible when we understand these 4 behavior patterns and we understand how we can identify them and emerge through them in the moment. And it can literally take, these days it takes me like between 3 and 10 seconds to identify it, see it, know where it's coming from, take a pause, step back, come back into my body, come back into myself, and then figure out how to resolve it and communicate to myself or to another person in a way where I am allowing myself to be heard. And they are hearing me because I'm not coming from the rescuer, the martyr, the perpetrator, or the victim. Okay, I'm gonna leave you guys with a couple of affirmations or mantras. So from what I call the victim in my book, the chapter is called From Victim to Victory. And this is a good mantra if you feel like that's the part in you that comes up a lot. The victim, which again is that part in us that feels sorry for ourselves, right? It feels like we can't change something particular, like we don't know how to, right? But we want to. So here is the affirmation, super simple. I am enough. I am perfect, actually. I am doing my very best. This too shall pass. I trust that I will get through this. And of course, I ask for what I need. A quick example of that is I remember wanting to get back in shape after my second kid. And I had a hard time asking for a stroller. I needed a stroller. I needed to sort out what kind of stroller to get, how to get it, when to get it, what kind to get. And once I really sorted through that detail, it just worked out and I lost all the weight. And it was a good feeling. Okay, the next one is the martyr. So the martyr is the one that self-blames, self-creates, right? Here's the mantra. My needs matter. I honor myself so much as a beautiful, magical woman that I am. I honor myself so that I can truly show up to nurture others. The next one is the rescuer, which honestly, I face that one often, but less often than it used to be because I'm very aware of these patterns. The rescuer, I release, here's a mantra, I release what isn't mine. I trust others to grow. That's a big one, right? Because as a rescuer, we often want to cater to our kids. We want them to be so protected that they don't need to ever have struggle. But they need to struggle because they need to know that they can trust themselves, that they can trust that they can break out of something, that they don't always need you to do that for them. So there are times where I see my boys playing with someone at a park who wasn't kind to them. Of course, at a certain age, I would stand up for them. But now they're around 7 and 9, and they often can speak up for themselves if something happens, like someone's bullying them, for example. And that's a really great feeling as a mom to know, wow, I trust that they can handle it, and they trust themselves. They trust that they can handle it. They're not going, Mom, help me, right? And when you do that for them when they are younger, it helps them to realize that muscle is there, that they can do it too. Okay, the final one is the perpetrator, the first one we spoke about. From perpetrator to peace is the chapter in my book, I call it. So from perpetrator to peace, when you notice that you're feeling like a perpetrator, when you notice you're feeling like you're attacking someone, even if you don't feel like you are, but you can tell by the other person's reaction that they're acting as if you're perpetrating them. They're feeling defensive. They're feeling offended. They're putting up a big stop sign and you're not, and you don't want to see it because you want to keep telling them what they're doing wrong, right? Take 3 deep breaths. I actually just did this to my husband today. I took 3 deep breaths. I took probably more like 10 deep breaths. I took some space, healthy space, and sat with myself for about 10 minutes and realized, okay, right now, he's feeling blamed. I don't feel like I'm blaming him, but he's feeling blamed. There must be a part in me subconsciously that is blaming him. So I looked at the part, I saw it, I identified it with the perpetrator, and I saw that the only way to emerge out of this feeling is to come up with a solution of how we can create this thing I wanted to talk about together without any kind of blame at all. So when I finally found that place in me that said, I don't blame him for not doing this. I don't blame me for not doing this yet. I don't blame us for not doing this yet. I started feeling less like a perpetrator, and I broke through it in the moment. It took me about 10 minutes, And sometimes it takes me 5 seconds, but this one was a big one for me, okay? So I saw my expectation was false. I saw it was coming from a deficient self-image. I saw that it was time to become the peace through the perpetrator, right? Or the perpetrator moving through into peace. So here are the mantras for the perpetrator. Take some deep breaths. I choose peace. I choose peace over being right. I don't want to be right. I just want to be real. I don't want my will. I want thy will. I turn conflict into connection. So that is all for now. Thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate the time. I feel honored. If you want to know anything else about the teachings or the books, they will be available for pre-order soon. My email, please send me an email, is emergeteachings@yahoo.com. Emergeteachings@yahoo.com. If you want to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, my name is DeAnna Larkins, and I look forward to connecting with you guys further. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you to the Be Earth Festival. Blessings, blessings. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.